Hey guys, how's it going? Um, Making a quick little video about uh, the league that I ran that I 5-0'd with and it got posted, so I figured I'd show at least the replays just to have some sort of Abzan content out there because no one's playing Abzan right now, let's be real here. Everyone's playing Jund, which is very understandable. I mean, Ren 6 is the real deal here, as well as Seasoned Pyromancer. But I've been playing Abzan just for nostalgia reasons, and I've actually been doing really well with it. The past three leagues, I went 5-0, 3-2, and then another 5-0 again within the past week. Haven't been able to stream just because I've just been haven't had the time, and this league got split up over multiple days. Um, but yeah, I mean, I wrote an article about Hexdrinker, and this card's really good. I only ran two this league because Martin Devlin from the Abzan Facebook group. Him and I have been kind of working together on a list, and uh, he mentioned that all the 5.0 lists with Hexdrinker at that time only had two copies. Um, and it makes sense because when you draw multiples of these, it's hard because you want to allocate all your mana into just the one Hexdrinker. You don't want to spread them out because once you get it to level 3, you might as well just go to level 8. You don't really want to distribute your resources. You kind of just invest, go all in on the one that has protection from instants, and then you kind of just be faced with the one, which makes sense. For this league, I main decked one Plague Engineer because it's gas. This card's really good. I think this card is definitely main deckable in BJX because we have a lot of 1-for-1 removal, and this card um, helps alleviate how much one-for-one removal we can get um, when you can kind of just wipe up multiple threats. Like you can wipe up multiple humans or elves or stuff from Affinity. It makes us less reliant on our smart removal, which is pretty big. And then I have two more on the side because it's just that good. Combos well with the Last Hope in the main, and then I have a Throne in the sideboard for all the blue-white control. Other than that, let's just get started. I'm gonna try to make this video not too long. Um, so yeah, let's just get this ball rolling. Go from there. Very good hand. Have a turn 1 Hexdrinker. So I guess my first matchup is against Mardu Pyromancer. Here I have a line of either playing Skoos or leveling up the Hexdrinker, and I figured I'd want to get value out of my Skoos, so I wanted to cast it on turn 3 and just level this guy up. Turns out that my opponent didn't have a removal spell, and this Hexdrinker just went all the way this game. I think Mardu has like one Dreadbore main maybe, or maybe a little amount of the Veil, if that. So I guess they just didn't have the outs to this Hexdrinker, which is just absurd. Like Hexdrinker literally just won the game for me here. Like that's literally the only card I casted that game and won the game, which is insane. Like Hexdrinker is just that absurd. Mulligan and 5 here is kind of rough. Thoughts these are pretty good for us here. I took the Kai'Sgao because it's the immediate 2-for-1. I guess Lingering Souls is also a 4-for-1, but I don't want to take it. I don't see an argument for Yawgmoth because once it has these spirits in play, it just has a net card advantage. But my opponent only had two lands in hand, so I figured I might as well just or one land in play and one land in hand. So I feel like my opponent was far away from casting Yawgmoth, and I had the path and Fatal Push in hand anyway, so that was a line there. Opponent getting a lot of value off these souls is pretty clutch here. Tarmogoyf is really good in this matchup because it survives Bolt, and it kind of makes our opponent lean harder on Fatal Push. Them having Bolt plus 2 spirits is pretty good for us. We're still trading 1-for-1 there, and it kind of makes them have less value from the Lingering Souls. Pathing the Yawgmoth is pretty is necessary, obviously, but them I felt like at the time they were pretty. It was kind of aggressive use of the Yawgmoth, shrinking our Tarmogoyf, but I guess it makes sense because it just gives them out to Goyf and I guess Smiting Helix. This Thoughtseize was pretty bad for me because it puts me down to 9. Top decking Nahiri is pretty insane. Lingering Souls is a good draw for me here because I can pressure their Nahiri and be able to kind of start trying to crack back here. But opponent casting Smiting Helix. It's a pretty big game for us here. Because then he just discards another Smiting Helix, puts me to 3, which pretty much signals that he has a Bolt. I think it's kind of loose my opponent did that. I think he was maybe playing around Graveyard Hate, I don't know. But he had the Bolt to kill me, to go to game 3. This hand is really good for us. Has a Tarmogoyf that we can try to get her out of Bolt range. A card that can swipe all the tokens and then Yard Hate to control, the Bell and Mellors and Lingering Souls. I play the Bob here first because I think while we kind of want the Bob to stick, Tarmogoyf is actually kind of the better card in this match in my opinion, and have it being able to survive Future Bolts is pretty clutch here. Because Bob dies to both, while Tarmogoyf only dies to push. Opponent cast Season Pyromancer here, which is pretty good. But like I said, this is why I like Tarmogoyf better, because while we'll accrue card advantage from our Bob, we kind of just want to beat face and kind of be the aggro deck here. Just because if we can catch Mardu Pyromancer on the back foot, we have a threat that they just can't kill. They're forced to, they might have a bunch of like 2/1s, 4/1 souls, 2/1 and season Pyromancer, just cards that just flood the board. We can force them into chump block mode with these big threats, which is what I'm doing here. I'm just like constantly just every turn just beating face, and then just forcing them to chump block, which is pretty difficult for them to do. They're not blocking profitably here. Because they can't like block and then crack back or anything. Like they're just chump blocking and they're just wasting resources. And just constantly applying this pressure is how you win in this matchup. Here I probably should have cracked the Peatland first and then play the Dragger, and then attack just to see what our most optimal line is, but I think we're going to attack anyway, and I don't think we're going to path this Season Pyromancer. I don't think we need to with this Spell Bomb in play anyway. This run is just beating face here. The hexproof on this card is just what's so killer for my opponent, and top decking this Tarmogoyf is pretty good for us here. What I should have done is I could have done a cute play of pushing the Season Pyromancer. Oh, sorry, crack the Spell Bomb, hold priority, push the Season Pyromancer, and then exile the Yard. So the Season Pyromancer gets exiled, I trigger a Revolt, and I still draw the card. That was the most ideal line here that I should have done. That way I can still hold path, and I don't wrap my opponent. Just for this exact situation where opponent ends up having a 3-drop. But I drew the Marsh Flats anyway, so I didn't get punished for it. So really cool. It feels good winning this matchup because this is definitely a bad matchup for us. Obviously Plague Engineer changes that for us, but it still feels good. I still think it's a bad matchup for us just based on them having so much card advantage. The second match I think is against Infect, and normally I'm against bolting the bird, just killing the mana dork on turn 1. But this is one of the situations where I actually like doing that because I can, if I can, if I'm gonna play and I push the mana dork, I have removal spells in hand already, and I can land a ball on turn 2. I'll push the bird or hierarch every time just because I already have removal in hand, and I can attack with the Bob there, and I'll just constantly, hopefully, refuel with the Bob that I play on turn 2, and not worry about them casting a 3-drop on turn 2. With the Inquisition on turn 1, I took the Vines of the Basswood because it's the only spell that grants hexproof. Everything else just unblockable is kind of enticing, but everything else it just scales them up. I have 2 Bobs, and I path their Inkmoth Nexus, and they just concede. So here I could have thought seized on 1, but I'd rather cast Hex Drinker there because if they didn't cast anything on turn 1, they didn't have a Dork or a Glistener Elf, that means they have the Blighted Agent. So I just thought seize and hoped that was their only threat, which it was. Other than the Inkmoth Nexus, there could be an argument for taking either of the 2 protection spells, but I figured just taking the threat is better and just fight over the one other that they have. So Inquisition took their last pump spell. There is an argument for me to trophy the Inkmoth Nexus, and then I can kind of try to level up my Hex Trigger to block. But I've decided to be a little bit more conservative here. Fatal Push was obviously a good draw. This was kind of an aggressive attack for them, I feel like, because they just get blown up by 1 removal spell. I guess they could try to cast a Smite on instant speed, which is what they should have done. But what are you gonna do? But them top decking this Inkmoth was a really good draw for them because now they just have lethal, and I just needed to draw a removal spell or a Lingering Souls or something to block, but I sadly did not. So on to game 3. Sounds really good. And this is one of those games where I like to point out that where Hexdrinker really shines. We are the control deck, but if we're on the play and we're on turn and we cast Hexdrinker on turn 1, we are the control deck, but we can constantly chip at them. Like I dealt them so much damage with Hexdrinker on top of them casting a Dismember. We're able to like be aggro. We're able to like turn the corner before we turn the corner, if that makes sense. Like we can start attacking and stabilize the board where we're just like we're kind of the aggro control deck now. Like we turn from being the control deck into an aggro control deck, which I think is huge for us. And I think that's a huge dynamic that Hexdrinker adds to the deck and to our archetype in general, because it's nice to be able to just go under our opponents and just like aggro them out and control the board with just all in one, and then we just slowly sink mana into whatever whatever mana we didn't use, and then ends up just being this big monster that I just can't handle. I actually like this line last turn where I could have my opponent played a Saber Sanctuary, but I don't think it matters. I could have just held these removal spells and tried to like control the board, or the line that I took was I just level this guy up to level 4 and just play defense. My opponent only has 2 threats. I can just chump through these goys if need be, and then next turn just make this indestructible or protection from everything, and then just like crack back and kill my opponent. I think that's where patience was definitely rewarded there. And this is another reason why Hexdrinker is so good. Like I wrote an article about Hexdrinker a couple weeks ago, or it must have been a month-ish now, whenever Horizons came out. And it stood the test of time. Like Hexdrinker is the real deal here. Um, my opponent kept a one lander with 2 Astrolabes and still got stuck on 2 lands. And then I stuck a Bob, and my opponent can see it because he did not draw the second land. So it's better looking to be good here. I started in these Plague Engineers. I said I had 2 more on the board if you from the beginning of the video. I started 2 more in just because of the Icewind Quaddles. Because that card is just so bad for us. It just trades Tarmogoyfs and replaces itself, which is insane. So here, I actually proactively named the snake just in case they had it, so I could just attack with the skews and not have to worry about it. Tyler Striker's just gold here. Getting us value in this matchup. My opponent, I think, punted here. Not punted, just misplayed. My opponent activated this Field Ruin after the Tyler Striker resolved. He shouldn't have done it before resolved. I don't think there's any... I mean, I guess if he did it in response, it would just give me 1 more mana on my turn, but I think the clue is worth more to me than the extra mana, the extra tempo, I guess. This attack that I made the previous turn, I actually think that was a big punt for me. I didn't realize this was a man land. I thought this was just the blue-green check land or a fast land or whatever. And it just suicide my skews in there, and that ended up... It didn't... I won this game, so it didn't cost me it, but it made my life a lot easier because they had 2 Snapcasters, a Pulsar Marassa, and a Jason, a Spell Pierce, and a Quaddle, and like the skews just nullified their whole hand. That being said, I took the Pulse because I felt like I'm trying to aggro them out, and with a Pulse and a Trophy and a relative good board state, I could handle the Jace. I didn't want them to gain 12 life if they went Pulse plus Snap plus Pulse. That's just a lot of value that they're just getting there. I just took the Pulse just because I felt like if they gained 12 life, I don't think I'm winning the game. It's just based on the board position that I'm in. The fact that they have multiple Snapcasters, like they can definitely, like they're gonna win the long game. So them decaying the Plague Engineer is pretty good for us. My opponent actually casted another Jace, which is really bad for us. I could have pathed one of the snaps or removed one of the snaps and went aggro, but I wanted to protect my own Liliana, which is why I pathed. But I top deck another one, so I guess it doesn't really matter there. So I think they played all the real cards, yeah. Jump drawing push is pretty good. And this is one of those matchups where Lingering Souls definitely shined. A lot of people are wondering, oh, is Lingering Soul still good? Is it still worth it? I still think so. It's still a 4th-1. It's not a very efficient 4-1, but it's still a 4-1. And this is one of those matches where it's definitely shines because my opponent has a bunch of pushes and decays, and they have the Icewind Quaddles that are trying to trade, and it's like I don't mind trading 1 Spirit for the Quaddle. Like we're still up ahead in cards there. So this is kind of a spicy card. Night Pack Ambusher. It's kind of cool. Luckily I had the trophy for it, so they aren't getting too much cards from it. Now I can start cashing in on these clues. Place Thrun. I could have attacked with a Shambling Vent there, just to put my opponent to 2, but I didn't want to walk into something like a Snapcaster Mage. I wanted to be a little bit more defensive, especially since the Spirits is already provides a 2-turn clock. This Dead of Winter is pretty good for our opponent because it kills our Thrun here, which is pretty bad. No, it's just this hex. The hexproof on this land is very relevant. Luckily, I have this trophy. So I just trophy this on the main phase because I feel like there's nothing my opponent has that can stop both spirits and channeling events. On top of a backed up last up and plague engineer. So I just trophied on my main phase and just hope that my opponent didn't top deck that could play around those removal spells. I'm gonna let you show you that. Not bad, guys. Just stuff on the west coast is sunsets, getting a little shadow in there. Try to set the replay like that so the lamp isn't in the way. I believe this is the 4th match now, and it's against Dredge. It's pretty brutal. My opponent goes turn 1 nothing, turn 2 Cathartic Reunion goes off into Narcomedia plus Prize Amalgam. I push the Amalgam here because if I can try to get lucky, my opponent just whiffs on this Dredge, I could Kaya and exile that Prize Amalgam and maybe this Bloodghast. So if they just like have a really, really bad hand, then I could probably do it, but that wasn't the case here. My opponent just has 7 power on turn 3, which is absurd. So I just concede here. I don't want to reveal that I have Kaya. I don't think that matters when my opponent already has a board presence in play. If I'm like maybe I could play this Bob and then just like push something, but I didn't want to. I don't think I'm coming away the game, especially since my opponent has a bunch of fuel in the yard already. So discard plus Scoos is really good on the play against Dredge. So I Thoughtseize their enabler, and then Thoughtseize their other enabler. So I took Street Cordon turn 1, Cathartic Reunion turn 2. And this is good for me because I can Scoos, exile their Dredger in the yard. So they have a Hogak in hand, which is good to keep in mind for us because we have to keep a good track of how many cards are in the graveyard. I could have, if they had like a Cathartic Union, they might be able to cast it, but I had the trophy already. So I felt like it was safe to just cast the Souls and try to get a clock going, try to get in the game faster. Here, this is where Plague Engineer is really clutch. Stinky Weed Imp is actually one of the worst cards for us, just because it trades with our big threat and we can't like crack back effectively. And Plague Engineer can stop that. I trophied their Imp this game just because I can. I had an extra trophy with the Scoos in play, but that's a relevant interaction where I can shrink them to an 0-1 and then just start attacking with the Scoos, and like it doesn't matter, like their death touch ability is just it doesn't do anything at that point. This game's rough. I'm Mulligan to 4, but discard plus Yard Hate is all I could really ask for. I could try to get a clock, but what we can do. My opponent boarded in a bunch of Nature's Claims. Not revealing Leyline or just having just the Scoos. Game 2 is what's I think really helped me because I think my opponent still thought I was on Leylines. And then this is where Kaya just takes over the game. I can just start exiling their stuff and then just Hex Shrinker again, just letting us like go under and just start beating face, which is so good. I probably should have leveled this guy up just so I can beat harder. I didn't know if my opponent was just gonna commit into the Blast Zone. I don't think it was. I was gonna play this Plague Engineer anyway, so I think it was probably correct to just level this guy up. And this is the interaction I was mentioning earlier, where I named Imp with this guy with Plague Engineer, and then my opponent can't block with the Imp profitably. Profila, since I have a way to exile it, so they don't really like if it goes in the yard, it doesn't benefit them, and I can just keep being aggro here. Um, Tarmogoyf is a good draw for us, uh, because it just gives us another threat. Here, I could have surgicaled a Narcomoeba and then like Kayaballed them, but I don't know. I just wanted to play it super safe. I can keep the surgical in hand. I can kind of stop their busted draw, so if they have like a cathartic union, just goes insane. Um, I feel like this is a safer line. I feel like the more aggressive line is surgical, Narcomoeba, and assume they have more, and then ultimate Kaya and then kill them. Um, I think I was so ahead here that I think the only way we lose if they for some odd reason just boarded out all their Narcomoebas, just some obscene way, and then like then I don't exile anything else from the surgical extraction, and then this Kaya doesn't end up killing them, and then they just somehow flood the board. It's like a very, 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 very low percentage, especially with this, uh, with my two threats in play. But I think that was I go from like 100% winning the game to like 99%, right? Um, so this is for the 5-0. Oh, sorry, I replayed this game. So this is for the 5-0 here. Oops, sorry. This ends up being against some sort of like devoted druid deck with Heliod's Pilgrim, which is super spicy. I thought seize the Hierarch because I thought I could just aggro them out with my Scavenging Ooze. Because whatever aura my opponent searches up with Heliod's Pilgrim, I can just path or whatever. Like I don't think I'm that scared of it. Bob is just really good here. Coco is just insane. My opponent hit really well. I was debating between trophying the druid and pathing it, but I ended up pathing it just in case it had some sort of weird permanent or something that I just needed a more overall removal spell like Assassin Trophy, like an On Thin Ice. I don't know if they had any like obscene planeswalker they just want to destroy, so that's why I burnt the path first, even though it's less mana efficient. So my opponent ends up searching up Free from the Wheel, so I guess that's some sort of alternate way to combo with the Devoted Druid. I don't know, it's pretty spicy. But my opponent cast two blockers I just removed and killed them with Scavenging Ooze. So Scavenging Ooze ended up being pretty clutch here, being that big beater. Just kill everything and beat face. That's the name of the game, right? Cast Thoughtseize. I took the 1-for-1. I thought about taking Collected Company. My opponent was so far off it and I could just cast this Thoughtseize and take the Collected Company. The reason why I left the Collected Company was because I felt like I have a card that hopefully wipes their board with Plague Engineer. So like it kind of negates their 2-for-1 aspect. Them casting Noble Hierarch made that plan look even better because they just commit more cards to the board that just get swept up by this Plague Engineer. As you can see here. So I was just like 3-for-1 them and just negated their 1-for-1 for the Collected Company. My opponent still has a Duskwatch Recruiter, which is kind of scary. Because he can start gaining advantage there. I don't think I would have played the Bob. I think I might have activated this just to get more card advantage. I named Human again just so I can just get rid of the blocker and just get rid of their card advantage engine here. Here I'm just trying to aggro them out with multiple Goys, like 2 Plague Engineers is just so good. This card, I'm falling more and more in love with this card. This card is so good. Getting the path is pretty good for us. I didn't attack with the Plague Engineers because I was scared of Collector Company. For the exact reason I don't want to like trade both of these cards for something stupid and then have them turn on their combo. So it was a little more conservative there. And this card is just so weird. This is where it gets super weird. My opponent plays a Leyline. And since they tapped out, felt like it was safe to finally tackle these Plague Engineers. Opponent goes to 1. Opponent cracking this Canopy land, that's really good for us. Opponent gains 4, which is fine. Do the math. I believe I path the Giver end of turn. So then my opponent has to block, jump block here, and opponent goes to 1, I think. If they take the Plague Engineers, go to 1, play a Hex Drinker, and just level this guy up. Bluff the removal spell, if whatever. And that's it. That's the 5-0 there. So matches were Martyr Paymancer, Infect, Sultai Snow, Dredge, and did some sort of weird Devoted Company deck. But yeah, that was it. Like I said, hasn't been training really good lately. Last 3 leagues were 5-0, 3-2, and 5-0. The thing about seeing these 5-0 lists is I always want to know like what I would change. And that's always what I want to ask when people do well with this. Like, oh, like, yeah, you did well, but like, what would you change? And the one thing I would change, I think I would change everything. I would keep 74 out of the 75 cards the same. I like 74 out of the 75 cards. And the one card that I would change is this Kaya. The Kaya did win me the game against Dredge, but it's been really mediocre. I feel like exiling cards at sorcery speed is a little too slow. The minus effect is very irrelevant a lot of the times. And it's only really good in conjunction with like other walkers where I just have like a super mini super friends theme. Other than that, I feel like it's just not that great. If I want to have a card that I can exile my opponent's graveyard, I'd rather have Kaya's Guile for the same mana and just be able to exile at instant speed. Like it's something like Is It Phoenix? You want to be able to exile at instant speed. Because my opponent just sit across this, go, okay, whatever, cast your spells, cast Faithless Looting, discard Phoenixes, and this card doesn't stop that from happening. It's great in conjunction with another Yard 8. Like if I have Kaya plus Spell Bomb, then this card's gas. But I like having, it's kind of like Scavenging Ooze, where like when you mulligan aggressively against like Dredge, you shouldn't mulligan to Scavenging Ooze. You should mulligan to either Null, Spellbomb, or Surgical Extraction because you need that early interaction. And activating Scooze on turn 3 is just too slow. And this is what Kaya is. Kaya's activating on turn 3. But yeah, this is it. What would I change it to? I'd probably change it to any of the flex slots. I can see a 3rd Hex Drinker. I can see moving things around, making this a 4th Veil. What I do want to test is an Eladamri's Call. I think that card's super powerful, and it just kind of fits what we're trying to do here. Because if we have an Eladamri's Call, it could be a Hex Drinker. It could be our Tireless Tracker. It could be the Plague Engineer that we're tutoring up. And then post-war, we could tutor up Teague, Comball, Collector Ooh, Fulminator Mage, more Plague Engineers, and a Thrun. So that's the card that I'm thinking that's on my radar next. Do I recommend Abzan? Probably not. I think Jund is better. I'm probably going to be playing Jund, just because I think it's just the better deck. I have been doing all the Abzan, so I mean, I'm probably going to go back and forth, just because I love Abzan. Like it's just my deck. But I think that's like my nostalgic feel. But for like the Timian, for the spike in me, I'm probably going to play Jund. I think Jund is just better with Ren and 6. And Jund just beats us because we have like all these 1 toughness creatures now in our list, and Ren and 6 just blows us out. But yeah, other than that, if you guys have any questions, post on the YouTube, post on Twitter, message me on Facebook, whatever. But yeah, appreciate it. Take it easy, guys. Hopefully, Abzan actually gets something really useful printed in the next set, something like Ren and 6 for us. That'll make White a little more worthwhile to play. I think Lingering Souls is still good, but I don't know. We'll see. I think Path is really good right now. Um, but I think Ren and 6 is just better as it's just a more powerful card. Like it's just more proactive, more value oriented. So, but yeah, take it easy, guys. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, guys.